Hello everyone and welcome to one of the most famous cities in the world, maybe one of the most stupid cities in the world to ever host a Formula 1 Grand Prix, and we're here on the Vegas Strip for the second United States Grand Prix of the season and the third to last race of the season. Only two to go after this one for the Vegas Grand Prix. Round 16 out of 18 in NEF1, and it is heating up. Ondřejk now with a bit of an advantage in the Drivers' Championship over Nasi and Djokovic are the only two drivers remaining in contention for this one. Already seeing movements down inside the Williams garage, two cars coming out as well as a Haas. Maybe one of the Aston Martins, if I'm not mistaken. Sprint race qualifying for this weekend. We got an 18-minute qualifying session followed by a 9-lap sprint and then a 25-lap Grand Prix. So a lot of points are on offer for the last sprint of the season. Next week out in Saudi Arabia, it is back to regular qualifying and the Grand Prix. Then the launch of F1 24 is upon us. We've got one more race after the launch of F1 24, unfortunately. A bit of a scheduling issue as Codemasters decided to launch the game just as our season was coming to its end. But one more race, and I believe it's the 4th of June to wrap up the end of this NEF1 season. And as said, right now it is leaning Ondřejk's way. Will that change here tonight in Vegas? We'll wait and see, but now he can afford a mistake or two without it having disastrous consequences for his championship battle. Squidge 2017 then out on track, looking to have a good one. Currently sitting in P4 in the driver's standings. It is a very good result for Squidge if he could be able to hold onto that. Not really being from behind, apart from Matty MC, only one lone point behind him. So the battle for P4 well and truly on. Is it going to be Squidge or is it going to be Matty? Matty not having finished worse than P4 in NEF1 since Season 3 when he finished in P8, so Matty will aim to keep that record going. A lot of top 3 finishes as well. Top 3 probably a bit too far out. Realistically impossible. Mathematically still possible. But we'll wait and see. Lil Drips then is on the lap here in Vegas for what is one of the trickiest tracks around this calendar. A lot of high-speed corners and a lot of places we really want a lot of downforce, but you can't afford it down these incredibly long straights, especially the Vegas Strip, which is coming up in a little bit of time. Longest straight, if I'm not mistaken, now on the F1 calendar is that Vegas Strip. It'll be interesting to see what happens when everyone goes through it. So then the race which we began this game's journey on and now is not quite concluding it, but not far from. Nasi's left session. We'll get him an invite in just 1 second. Hold on, Nasi. As there we go. This is also the track which saw Beatty's pole position last season out, his first pole position in quite a while, and SFLY Jamar's latest Grand Prix victory came at this very circuit about 2 seasons ago now, at the very start of what was Season 6, the first season on this game, now in Season 7, about to start Season 8. Years are going by rather quickly at this point, and somewhat scary. Lil Drips then is heading up to the line to set the first competitive lap time of this session. What is it going to be? The car looks absolutely rapid down the straight. It's a 134.416. Don't really have a reference yet, but those are coming up because Williams is about to cross the line. And it is going to be Squidge 2017 goes faster by 2 seconds. Spenclose then is coming across the line soon as well. Is it going to cut that inside corner a little bit? No, stays off it. 133.108. Half a second slower than his teammate Squidge. Looks rapid at the moment. 132.542. Matt is still in the pit lane, curiously enough, as that is Padarang just coming down the Vegas Strip, now heading into one of the trickier braking zones of this season. Raised curbs at certain places around this place as well. You don't really want to ride them too hard. Here we go then. Padarang is about to come across the line along with a Rudable of Wigan 71 goes in P3, Padarang goes P4, 133.828. The two separated by 1/10 of a second is Wigan and Padarang. Djokovic goes second fastest, 1:32.769, whereas Ondřejek in all of this, he is currently going through sector 1. So there, I believe I just saw the notification that Nazi is back in this session. Means he has plenty of time to get a lap on the board. Little bit of an awkward section, this where Ondřejek is currently at. Very, very weird braking zone into this. Left-hander leads you out onto the Las Vegas Strip. Awkward corner, awkward braking zone now. Flat out running for about 1.5 kilometers down to what is the final few corners. Incredible straight line speeds here as well. This is going to be one of those where everyone has to manage their battery properly. Whomever does that and whomever chooses their point of attack is going to have a very good chance of winning this Grand Prix. We can expect massive DRS trains here, I reckon. Going to be very hard to break that toe. DRS zones absolutely everywhere. Ondřejek then, is it going to go provisional pole position? Yes, he is, by about 1/10.5 over Squidge 2017. Djokovic and Squidge not having an answer for the current P1 in the championship. Ondřejek doesn't have the opportunity to wrap it up this week, but next week, if he wins here today, he will have a brilliant opportunity to do so. Worth pointing out as well, Ondřejek over the last 2 weekends have been absolutely perfect in terms of points scored. Not perfect driving-wise last week out in Brazil. Got a bit lucky with the timing of a few safety cars, but 34 points scored on both weekends. He could not have done anything else. Sprint race win, fastest lap, and Grand Prix victory. I believe pole positions of both races as well means he has taken the absolute maximum out of the last 2 weekends. If he does that tonight, the championship well and truly within reach in Saudi Arabia. Speaking about Saudi Arabia, this is a man who's going to be relatively handy as we go around there next week. Matty MC, unfortunately for him, lost that battle last season out. He'll be hungry for revenge as he aims to keep his record of winning a race in basically every season he's competing going, apart from season 3. Matty MC then is going to be able to get anything done here in Vegas tonight. Not a track which I think he enjoys particularly much. As down the Vegas Strip, following his teammate No Larks by a couple of seconds, not significant enough to gain him any type of draft or slipstream down this straight. So I believe an Aston Martin's just about to cross the line. Might that be Hybrid who comes across the line? There goes P9, a little bit slower than his teammate. As here we go then, post the Las Vegas Strip, No Larks and Matty both coming across the line relatively so. No Larks, where does he go? P7, Matty goes up into P9. So Matty actually about 1/10 of a second slower than his teammate and massively locking up his brakes heading into the first corner and able to keep it out of the wall, but that's a bit of a sketchy moment there for Matty, and it is going to weigh somewhat on his mind. NEF1 then is currently coming through sector 2, and it's decent sector 1 time, 44.2 I believe that was. Might have been a 44.7, which quite a big difference. But now he's going to get an almighty slipstream on his teammate here, and the McLaren voice might have timed this one to absolute perfection. He is getting a toe of the century. Beatty is going to do perfectly to get out of the way at the right time here, surely. And that is going to propel Nassi down the entire Vegas Strip, and that'll have gained him, if they do that to absolute perfection, we're talking about tenths of a second, not hundreds, tenths of a second if you do that to perfection around this place. Let's see if it can catapult him up the order, and it does. It's provisional pole position for NEF1. And Ondřejek is going to be somewhat annoyed he doesn't have a teammate to hand him those types of services this weekend, because my goodness, has that helped Nassi an incredible amount as well. Latvian Lightning then on provisional pole position halfway through this session. As wow, absolutely played to perfection by Nasi and ABT there. Must be said as well, a couple of corners for for Nasi in that lap, sorry, was a bit sketchy, not absolutely perfect. There's still room for improvement, but obviously they'd have to coordinate something like that again, which I think is going to be very hard for them to do. Obviously BT needs to worry about his qualifying as well. Every now and again, situations like this just happens where, yeah, they can play to absolute perfection. I think that might have been one of them. Let's see, even JV8 at the moment, currently sitting in P16 and, well, last of the order. Needs to improve by a couple of seconds to really make up any significant ground on the bottom 5. Wait and see how that goes. iWatts, the driver's had a good couple of races now. This last month or so really has picked up the pace from the beginning of the season. Unfortunately, invalidating this lap, he's going to have a couple of more goes at this surely. See, BT's out there on the flying lap as well. And now his teammates doing him the reverse favour, just giving him a little bit of a tow down the back straight. That was simply for the out lap though, but it's going to give him maybe a couple of thousands into turn 1, as there is a car coming out of pit lane. I believe that might have been no Larks just coming out of pits there. Slightly awkward, but managed to play that one nicely. Getting out of the way, but it would have distracted BT ever so slightly. Coming into maybe the worst corner of this entire track, this sweeping right-hander, coming up to the tight and twist a bit, that is sector 1. Incredibly awkward braking zone for this left-hander, followed by a very slow right, which just feels awful to drive, and then a very slow left, which feels, yeah, even more awkward. Hard to get on the power through this next corner, but BT managing nicely there. Tuck to the right-hand side of the track, switch to the inside, and then a braking zone coming up at the end of this bend. Once again, easy to lock the brakes here if you're running ABS off, which I know Matty is. Might hamper him a little bit this weekend even, but BT managing nicely. 33.606 is best time so far. Needs to improve by a considerable margin in order to fight for pole position here. Ondercheck and Squidge not too far behind Nasi at the moment. BT's improving, not by enough. It's down the Vegas strip into the last proper braking zone of this lap then. Try to abuse the curbs as much as possible, and that could have been session ending for BT. That's what happens when you just put the power down a little bit too hard around this place. You go sideways, and BT lucky to not see the end of the session there. As Matty's complaining about grip levels as well, and I believe BT, after that little incident, has to agree with that statement. Oh, it is tricky to get it right around here. I'm very glad I'm not on track today, actually. I wouldn't have enjoyed this one bit. Last week's winner then, NEF1 Jamer, not having such a good time tonight as of yet. Didn't really stand out in the Grand Prix either. Just the win came to him. Yeah, played it to perfection, kept the mistake free. That's a good lap from Jamer, actually. Sorry to doubt you. 133.027 goes up into top 6. Still a little bit of the top 5 with Djokovic, Spenklo, Squidge, Ondercheck and Nasivo. But Jamar seemingly liking this circuit quite a bit, and I could imagine this is a track which somewhat favors pad uses a bit. So not weird to see Jamar up there. Let's see if iWatts could also get it up there as well for a good weekend for Alpine. They have been starting to pick up points at a relatively high rate now. And are challenging for some good championship positions. Both of them could end up inside the top 10 by the end of this race and the season, if everything goes their way. Is Djokovic now coming out for what I would imagine is his final run of qualifying. Ondercheck might already be on it. 3:50 to go. It just looks so controlled, everything that Ondercheck does. Incredibly controlled. As it's not going to be a competitive lap this though, down quite a bit on his time. And he has abandoned that quite early, so he's going to go one more time. Jamer, I believe, is just speeding over to the pit lane to try to get out again, as everything's just calming down a bit. Ondercheck is going to go on one more flying lap, I'm quite sure. Is he going to make it back to the pits in time for another out lap? It's going to be close, but maybe. As for Djokovic, he's going to have a bit of space on his hands to play about with this. People are soon going to start coming out of the pit lane though, so he might have to judge that quite well simultaneously. So just coming out on the Vegas Strip now then. As people are starting to come out of the pit lane, we have an Aston Martin of Hybrid 472 out. And I'm seeing further movement. Indeed, 2-3 more cars coming out of the pit lane. Everything's going to start kicking off now. Djokovic, has not picked the best of timings yet, but has a bit of time to correct that. Now, got to get the power down and nice through this corner. Carry as much top speed as you possibly can heading into the braking zone of turn 1. But he's going to be facing traffic. Everyone be aware, faster cars are coming up behind you on your outlaps. Djokovic on a fast lap then going through turn 1 and turn 2, and there's a lot of traffic ahead of him that'll have to navigate. We start off with, I believe it's a Williams and a Red Bull, an Alpine and a Red Bull, sorry. Red Bull already spotted him, nice and neatly tucked into the inside, good job there. Now heading into the second braking zone, awkward right-hander, followed by this fast complex, now navigating the traffic rather well whilst this is going on. Question is now, with the amount of straights, is it going to be able to catch anyone else, or is it going to be able to benefit of a little bit of a tow? Have to wait and see. Green flags are out through Sector 2 where Djokovic is, and I believe he's had a little bit of a moment and he has abandoned this lap. Curious that for Djokovic, he'll have one more go at this now then. Needs to recharge those batteries and go again. Needs to get the next attempt right. It is absolutely crucial for him. As for Nasi, where's his teammate on track at the moment? He is currently going incredibly slowly. Through Sector 1. Oh, that is Djokovic on the facing the wrong way of the track, coming out on the Las Vegas Strip. Managed to get that sorted as Ondrejek is coming up behind him. Mind you, on an outlap still. Nasi's just now starting his last flying lap. This is going to be an interesting one. This is going to be a really interesting one. So here we go then, in the bid for pole position, which to be fair might not be the best place to start around here. Have to wait and see. Ondrejek just now about to cross the line for the last time. But is he going to have time? Is Ondrejek going to have time for one more run? Oh, he's just made it by a second. Judged to perfection. I believe for Djokovic, though, the session is over and none better than P5. Unable to improve on his time with that little bit of mistake towards the end of the session now. Nasi about to turn onto the Vegas Strip. This is going to get interesting. Nasi is improving. Ondrejek needs to improve a lot, but he is sliding out of the last couple of corners. Squidge has improved to provisional pole position. Nasi now needing a run of his life. He is improving. Is it going to be by enough? There's his teammate ahead of him, but he's not going to be able to give him a slipstream. Going incredibly slowly. Nasi, is it going to improve up into P1? Yes, he is, by about a tenth and a half. Ondrejek now needs to deliver a brilliant final few corners here. Is he going to do it? Could well be P3 if nothing else, because Squidge has put in a belter of lap time. Jamar, we're still waiting for his time as well. He's about to come across the line in just a moment. He is going to improve, but is it going to be by enough to maybe force his way past Djokovic in P5? Needs to get this absolutely right. It is going to be an improvement. It is not enough. As for Ondrejek, what is he going to be able to do? Needs to improve by a lot. Is he going to be able to do so? No is the answer. Nasi 31 takes pole position by about a tenth of a second over Ondrejek 51. He didn't need the tow in the end. Nasi did it anyways, and that is a perfect qualifying lap for the McLaren driver. As for his teammate, not so lucky down in P13, but he's going to have an almighty run down the Vegas Strip on that first lap. Squidge finishing a P3 with his teammate not closely following him in P4. Djokovic a long ways behind the his two championship contenders in P5, followed by Jamer and Iwatts, both pad drivers, both Alpine drivers, P6 and P7. Good qualifying effort from Matty with a disappointing qualifying session for him by his standards. P8, followed by Hybrid and Padarang P9 and 10. Wigan and Darren Style P11 and P12, followed by BT, No Logs, Drips and JV8 to round off the rear. But remember, we still have a long sprint race to go. 9 laps worth of sprint race action to decide who's going to be starting on pole position very much for the Grand Prix that is to come. But points are on offer here towards the sprint as well, so don't miss out on that. It is going to be an interesting one indeed. But Nassi has taken pole position here around the streets of Las Vegas. So then, there we can see Nassi31 taking pole position away from Ondrejek. Just start qualifying him on pure pace. Obviously, I thought A-Beta was actually going to come into play there at the very end. Didn't. Ondrejek just not able to hang with Nassi in that qualifying session. Squidge right there as well, inside that top 3. So he's going to be interesting. See if he can maybe pull his teammate Spen close along into that battle as well. Indeed, at the end of a very interesting qualifying session, then we will be going to just one quick break for a couple of minutes here. Recharge our batteries before we get going for the sprint race. So don't go anywhere. Stay with us. We'll be right back in a couple of minutes' time for the Las Vegas sprint race. So then we are back, and at the end of that very interesting qualifying session, we're just going to have a look as well. Before any points gets on the board, we're just going to have a look at those driver standings real quick. As we can see here, it is falling away a little bit for Nassi and Djokovic in the driver standings. Ondrejek on 264 points over Nassi's 242 and Djokovic's 240. Yeah, it is very much heating up. And just looking at this, 50 points to compete for. Could someone do the maths for me on this real quick? Could Ondrejek clinch the Drivers' Championship tonight if everything goes wrong for Nassi and Djokovic? It'll be hard for him, but could it realistically be done? Squidge a bit behind on 160 points, followed by Matty on 159. Then it is close in the midfield. As for the Constructors' Championship, McLaren has the chance of closing that battle today, but it is going to be incredibly hard for them once again. Battle between Williams and AlphaTauri is dying down a little bit, as Mercedes has now started to catch the back of AlphaTauri, and they will be stressed about the force of nature at the moment that is Ondrejek this season. As there we go, I can announce as well that the ready up has been given. We will be getting going in a couple of minutes. So then here we go, and this is one of the weirder starting grids of the season. As you can see, the rear runners are starting at a bit of an angle at this track. JV8, Little Drip, Snowlarks, BT, a couple of others starting at an angle, which is going to make that start harder actually. Nasi gets away well off the line for the formation lap, nice and clean, followed by Undercheck, Squidge, and Spenclose, Djokovic down in P5. But that top 10 are the only ones really protected. Everyone else starting in that left-hander, which I don't really know why. There's a long straight ahead of it. But it is what it is, I reckon. Nasty Van from Undercheck, Squidge, Spenclose, Djokovic, Jamar, Iwatts, and Matty make up the top 8. The top 8 are the only guys that are going to score points in this sprint race before we get the Grand Prix underway, where the top 10 will score points and the fastest lap point will be in effect. It is not for this sprint race. Fastest lap doesn't matter. It is just about position here. 8 points for the win, 1 point for P8 going up. So not a big point swing as well. Not really worth going for it in these types of sprint races with the points format that there is. It's just really an opportunity in real life F1 as well for the big teams to take even more points off the midfield teams. It's more racing action, but I'm not sure it's landed quite how it should. But in any F1 at least, these sprint races go down very well. Some drivers love them, some drivers absolutely despise them. But they always bring an entertaining show, as we've just put on display 3 weeks in a row now. As Nassi's just preparing for his launch down to Turn 1. Quite a short run down into Turn 1, but it is all about getting yourself a couple attempts ahead before we get down to the run into the coming out of the Vegas Strip. That is going to be the main overtaking point of this track, as well as into Turn 1. Quite a fair few overtaking zones around here. Here we go then, Nassi on the outside for pole position, just waiting a long time to get that car parked. Doesn't want his tyres cooling down, which to be fair they won't as soon as he parked. Undercheck on the inside for the fast corner. Could be an advantage here. Couple of people missing their parking. As for JV8, we can see him parking at that weird angle, trying to make it as straight as possible. Smart move that from JV8 as the 5 red lights are on for the Vegas Grand Prix. And it is lights out, and there we go, away we go. Nassi gets a decent start. I believe Undercheck might have just gone away slightly worse. He's going to be challenged by Squidge, maybe around the outside in Turn 1. No, he's not. Stays well and clear. 2 Williams go side by side. Spenclose down inside of Squidge in Turn 1. Djokovic and Jamar hustling for position for P5, P6. Someone has gone downhill. It is Squidge. After brilliant qualifying, he finds himself down in last along with Darren Style, who also had a disappointing start coming out of Turn 1. Now, Undercheck has a little move down. Nassi's inside, not going to be able to make that work as of yet, but the 2 front runners now going to start flying away a little bit. Spenclose does not have the pace, evidently by qualifying to stick with these 2. Nassi and Undercheck then for the lead of this Grand Prix. Djokovic down 1 position on Iwatts after the start of the race. Iwatts having a brilliant start. P4 and 5 for Alpine at the moment. Brilliant weekend so far from them. Just need to keep the momentum going. Pattering and Hybrid also a decent start. P7 and P8 double points finish for Aston Martin. Djokovic needs to get a move on. Undercheck is going to be happy to wait this one out a bit as we come onto the strip for the first time, but Slipstream is going to be so massively effective here that might not have a chance to defend Nassi, as Undercheck is going to go towards the outside of the track, and now is it going to come down to the braking zone, or is Nassi going to tuck in behind previously? Gonna be able to fight this one under braking if he wants to. Brakes just that bit earlier. Let's Undercheck go, base. That's strategic. Just waiting for the DRS a little bit because he can't allow Undercheck to disappear down the road now. Nasi just braking a little bit too early into that corner, and that has allowed Ondercheck to get a relatively sizable advantage. Very, very quick first lap that from Ondercheck. 8 tenths ahead already on Nasi 31. Race pace and qualifying pace, two completely different things. Can confirm as well, Spenkler's actually doing a good job at the moment keeping with these two, but that gap is starting to form a little bit. Djokovic not being able to stay really towards the rear of Iwatts at the moment, worryingly enough for him. Two very different lines taken into this section by Ondercheck and Nasi. Nasi seemingly holding station at the moment, not really losing time to Ondercheck, not really gaining anything. As we're coming up on the Vegas Strip for the second time this race, let's see how effective the slipstream is from that far back. And how much is Nasi willing to take out of his battery, for example, in order to catch up to Ondercheck just now. So Ondercheck's doing everything he can to just get out of that DRS zone. Spenkler's left session, I'll have to give him an invite. Not ideal, not ideal. There we go. The slipstream is worth a little bit of time. Nasi on Ondercheck then, but Ondercheck holding P1 nicely at the moment. Spenkler's losing a bit of time and now is about to be passed by Jamer. Goes up into a podium position here as hopefully Spenkler's going to be able to get control of his car back relatively quickly as to not lose too much by this. Here we go, then Nasi starting to catch up to Ondercheck again. DRS has now been enabled, and now this race a bit in the hands of Nasi 31. With this DRS, when does he want to get the overtake done? Because I believe with the DRS here, it's overtaking at will down the Vegas Strip. Can't afford a mistake though. Cannot afford a mistake, but if you do battle around this place, you want to make sure it costs the other person so much time that they get tangled up in something else, or just lose a little bit by doing it. We saw these two trade positions many a time last week out in Brazil. Could this be a similar story? When does Nasi fancy going for the overtake? First time down the Vegas Strip with the DRS. As here we go, Nasi straight line speed is just immense. Ondercheck not going to be able to do anything about that, doesn't even try to do anything about that. Question is, how much can Nasi actually break away with the help of that DRS down this straight? Not too far. And now, might it be a similar story? Ondercheck on Nasi coming back at him into turn 1. That was the case last weekend. When we saw Ondercheck takes a position away from Nasi into turn 1, and then Nasi taking it right back into turn 4, but now Nasi holding station. Ondercheck not really looking interesting to go for it as of yet. As here we go, Ondercheck and Nasi is still involved in this little battle. Spenkler has now been able to rejoin this session quite a ways back, however, unfortunately for him. Beat the Squidge running a race of their own at the moment, along with Nolarks also had an awful start to the race. Probably won't see them until the Grand Prix then. See if they can make up some ground in the more strategic race that is come. 25 laps around here, as said. But now, down the Vegas Strip, Ondercheck or Nasi. And high speed as Ondercheck is going to retake the lead of the Vegas Sprint here on lap 4 out of 9. We're going to be seeing quite a bit of this, I imagine, throughout this race. Nasi not really trying to defend that one. Ooh, as he just loses it a bit on the exit of that corner, and now that is going to allow Ondercheck the 1 second advantage that he needs in order to break away out of the DRS range. Nasi's now going to be stressing to try to get back into that range. but might that have just given Ondřejk everything he needed in order to win this race? Djokovic has been able to get past Iwatts as well, worth pointing out. Spengler is back in these sessions, now on the back of Hybrid. Spengler with a bit of pace here should be able to make his way a bit up the order, as long as he can keep him mistake free, as Matty's been able to get past Pattering into turn 1. As Nasi now 1.7 seconds back on Ondřejk. That's how costly a mistake is around this place. One little tap at the throttle and you can lose seconds coming out of a corner. Gutting that for Nasi, because that might well be the end of his challenge for this sprint race. Might not be able to recover from that. Nothing else will be very difficult for him to recover from that. Djokovic is catching up to the back of Jamar. This is for the top 3. Not drop too many a point on Ondřejk and Nasi. Here we go then, down the Vegas Strip, round the outside, maybe for Djokovic with the open wing. Jamar, is he going to try to keep it down the inside? Yes, he can, and Djokovic has to take avoiding action there. Outbreaks himself slightly. Jamar just, I believe, touches the wall on the exit there, and it is kicking off. Spengler has had a little bit of an issue coming out of the corner as well, which has dropped them positions to Padarang, Hybrid, and Little Drips. Now, going to be stressing to finish in the points here. Maybe just having a look at Little Drips into turn 1. Maybe even trying to go around the outside. Oh, beautiful switchback from Spengler in turn 1. That is, hands down, one of the moves of the season. Spengler on Little Drips. Absolute perfection from Spengler there. Sets him up beautifully through turn 1. Puts the switchback on him. And into turn 2, round the outside. Gets the move done. Beautiful work from the Williams. Both the Aston Martin and, never mind, Little Drips maybe outbroken himself slightly as the two are going at it hard, heading into Sector 2, but Spengler's coming out victorious in the end. Matty now making moves to go up the order. Djokovic still on the back of Jamar. This one is going to come down to the Vegas Strip for the second time in a row, as Nasi is now dropping seconds on Ondřejk. 3 seconds now is the gap, as Djokovic has been able to clear Jamar well ahead of the braking zone at this time. But means Jamar is also going to get a bit of slipstream on him down the Vegas Strip, and actually might be able to attack once again. Not quite, but overtaking that early, not necessarily a good thing, man. Punch the right hole for punch the right hole in the air for Jamar to go through. Hybrid has DNF'd from this race. What's going on with him there? Probably into the wall. On the exit of this corner, oh, that is close for Darren Style. Very close to making contact with Hybrid there. That should have been a safety car immediately. For some reason it wasn't, and it could have seen Darren out of this race. Thankfully it didn't. Hybrid's now been cleared, and we're back to green flag conditions. But I must say, what a job from Alpine at the moment. Spengler as well. Hold on, what's happened to Matty? He was just up there a moment ago. Was he involved in this with Hybrid, perhaps? Because he was right up there. Now, Spengler is in the top 6 again. Doing battle with Little Drips, who cuts that corner nicely. Gets a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. Which has kept him within DRS advantage of Spengler. Not quite sure what I feel about that. Might be looked at after the race, but given a penalty by the game as well, hard to do anything about it. So then, Little Drips down the Vegas Strip on Spengler, nothing really going on. Maybe Jamar and Djokovic actually again into the braking. Oh, for some reason Jamar did not go for that. Just hanging back a little bit. Might wait until the last lap, you know, to try to pull that move off. As we now has gone past Padarang for the last points paying position, as Little Drips has gone past Spengler again. course, the two make contact just on the apex of the last corner, and Spenklos is now not going to be overly fancying getting too close to that Haas, who's not realistically battling for position anymore. So I believe Drips maybe just tucks in behind him for the time being. Spenklos now 2.5 seconds up to Iwat's, 2 laps to go. It's a tough job to make up that much ground, as Little Drips maybe around the outside into the sweeping right-hander, as Drips almost runs into the wall there, not quite. Nice overtake by Little Drips, but this is just hampering Spenklos even more. We might at this point do best to just sit behind him and take P6 if he can. Remember Little Drips penalty being handed out for a relatively blatant corner cut a couple of laps ago. Spenklos has retired from the race for the second time in a row, and thankfully that ghosted him. Otherwise, Padarang, I believe Padarang does need a change of pants regardless. But Spenklos then is out of this race, and what was such a good qualifying session for the Williams boys has turned into an absolute disaster for them. Going to be starting in P15 and 13. Maybe towards the end of the Grand Prix, unless Squidge can work up an absolute miracle in this last few corners. As then Onacek has started the final lap of this race, followed by Nasi, 3.2 seconds the gap. That battle ended with Nasi's little tail happy moment there going through the last sector, as Jamar now has been able to get past Djokovic as well, now with 1 lap to go. This is for the podium of the sprint race, Djokovic or Jamar. Probably coming down to the Las Vegas Strip. Djokovic knows that, if I'm not mistaken, didn't even enable DRS down that straight. So I'm very curious actually as to what happened to Spenklos, if he went out to any type of contact or just lost the rear, which is very easy to do around this place, mind you. Not impossible. Oh my god, Djokovic and James are going incredibly slow there on track, which is going to involve, it's going to give Iwatts a brilliant little insight into this little conversation as well. That is, yeah, somewhat ridiculous, must be said, but you do really want the DRS down this last straight. Who got it? I think Djokovic did, and that in the end is going to give him P3 in this race. Jamar can do nothing about it, and he loses out there. Game of DRS Chicken is going to confirm the order here, unless Jamar can get a run through the last corner. He opens it up actually relatively well. Djokovic goes a bit deep into it, but recovers well now. Down the run to the line, Onacek is taking the win from Nasi. Djokovic is surely going to come home in P3. He's not going to be separated by more than 0.2 of a second. Jamar within 0.2 of a second on Djokovic. Not quite enough though, but it's a good result for Alpine. P4 and P5, followed by Wigan in P6, Little Drips in P7. Padarang comes home in P8. Lots of the points finishes. Darren in P9, followed by Matty in P10. No Larks P11, followed by Beat in P12. 13 for Squidge after a very disappointing start. Didn't see anything of him really during the race, followed by JV8. Spenklos and Hybrid fails to finish. We'll see them again for the Grand Prix starting on the last row of the field. But then it is a very awkward track this, but I think we can confirm it does deliver some really good racing action actually. That's a good little battle, especially between Djokovic and Jamar throughout the race. I don't like seeing those games of DRS chicken really, but it is what it is. It is the nature of racing, unfortunately. As long as DRS is a thing in Formula 1, you're gonna go for it, and they did everything they could. As for Spenklos, tapped the wall, lost control of the car, and crashed out of the race. Unfortunate for him. We'll see him again during the Grand Prix, and what this race showed is that starting position is not everything. Onacek, though, extends the lead of the Drivers' Championship by 1 point over Nasi and Djokovic. Jamar in P4, followed by Iwatts in P5. Wigan in P6, Little Drips in P7. Oh, sorry, Padarang in P8 as well to round off the points. As for an indicator of fastest lap of this race, went to Nasi by quite a margin as well. 2/10 over Ondřejk, who's second fastest. Doesn't pay a point this time around, but it will for the Grand Prix. Now, for that Grand Prix, we're going to be going to yet another quick break. Just cool down a little bit after that sprint. Give the drivers a chance to breathe, and we will go again shortly. Nasi, with a bit of a disappointment in the sprint race, could have very well fought for the win there, but a little mistake coming out of the Vegas trip just cost him the chance to do battle with Ondřejk, prolonging that battle. We'll see for the Grand Prix, and Nasi is going to be starting this race in P2, following his championship rival Ondřejk in P1. So then, once again, I can confirm that the ready up has been given now. 25 laps worth of racing action around this Vegas circuit is coming up, and it is going to be a tough one indeed. That was 9 laps worth of racing action. We've got 25 laps coming up. It's going to be a bit more of a strategic one. Everyone going for it now, obviously in the sprint race formats. It is just try to make up as much ground as possible. Little gain though, however, now in the Grand Prix, need to start thinking about those points coming in safely. We are coming into the business end of the season now, only 52 points left to compete for at the end of this race. Only 52 points left to be grabbed. The formation lap is underway. Ondřejk from Nasi and Djokovic, then the top 3 in the championship in the current order, starting in that order for the Grand Prix. Ondřejk, Nasi and Djokovic, followed by Jamar and I, whilst they had a very good sprint race now. And they have such a good Grand Prix, might well finish upper midfield, maybe even snatching a podium if something happens. Jamar not far off Djokovic in that sprint. As for the pit stop strategies, Undercheck going aggressive, Nasi going a bit more conservative on the mediums, followed by Djokovic, Jamar and Iwatts on the softs. Wigan on the mediums, followed by Drips on the softs. So Iwatts making slight contact with the wall there. Everyone from P8 downwards, medium tires. So everyone basically gonna try to go a bit longer on that first stint. Undercheck going aggressive, wants to cover up Nasi at the start, and that's actually a good strategy. If you can break away on that soft tire, get out of the DRS threat, he's just gonna be able to control this race in a completely different way. I believe that might actually be a better strategy, just getting away a little bit on the softs. However, it doesn't work if everyone's on the softs, obviously. Undercheck might have pulled a smart one off there. Djokovic is going to try to get past Nasi soon as he can. Christina the Gamers in chat once again cheering on Matty MC. So then, just a few corners to go of this formation lap before we get the Grand Prix underway. Undercheck, Nasi and Djokovic. Here we go then, round the final corner. This is where a couple of people are going to start this Grand Prix. Weirdly enough, as Djokovic's actually the first car to be parked on that grid. Undercheck second, Nasi third, not in that order on the starting grid though. Both those AlphaTauris are going to be starting at a weird angle, followed by a BT Squidge JV8 Spenclose hybrid to make up the final row of the grid. But here we go then. For the third to last time this season, we are waiting for the 5 red lights to go out once again for racing here in the Vegas Grand Prix. 25 laps worth of the Vegas Grand Prix is underway, and Undercheck gets a decent start. Nasi gets a better one on that harder medium tire. Not going to send one down the inside, however. No, Djokovic now is going to try to go round the outside of Nasi, turns to the inside of turn 3, and he might just have that done. No, Djokovic has had a shocker just going into the wall there. Manages to, I think, avoid any sort of damage. That could have been race ending for Djokovic, unless he, well, oh, if it just went worse for him. Djokovic, though, now under pressure from little drips as well. Not the start he would have been hoping for. Jamar is thankful as thankful as you can be, I'm sure. Now up into the podium place for Jamar along with Iwatts. They're going to be trying to cover off Djokovic as much as they can. Iwatts having a moment coming out of the corner. Now Djokovic free to chase after them. Little drips up into top 5. Iwatts going to be defending from Wigan, coming up relatively quickly towards the next corner as well. It's all kicking off here at the start. So everyone just taking it cautiously into this corner. Wigan getting very close to the back of Iwatts now. Undercheck with a 1.5 second advantage. Those softs were the way to go already out of DRS threat. Those mediums not working well yet, but it will be a race of strategy this now between Undercheck and Nasivan coming up towards the end of the Grand Prix, unless we have a safety car, because Jamar now is coming up on the back of Nasi and he might well be able to get past him. The question is, how bad does Nasi want to fight this one? Completely different strategies. How much time is he willing to lose to Undercheck? Because this is going to come back at him towards the end of the Grand Prix. This is if we don't have a safety car, in which case Nasi might have had a shocker of a strategy. Iwatts now very much on the back of Little Drips. Wigan is involved in this as well. Maybe for Iwad going into the first corner. No, Little Drips holds position from Iwatts and Wigan. Darren right there as well in the back of his teammate. Tries to do a bit of a switchback move into turn 3. Not going to work, as that is Little Drips facing the wrong way coming out of turn 3. Oh, that could have been disastrous for Little Drips. It was disastrous for Little Drips. Ends up into the bottom 2 along with his teammate JV8 as Darren makes slight contact with the back of Matty and now has a moment coming out of turn 5. Losing a couple of positions, maybe around the outside of BT, making further contact, and that is Patarang, maybe trying to go down his inside. No, not quite working. A little spin. It is all kicking off here towards the first couple of laps of the Vegas Grand Prix, and oh my, it has been a messy start, you could say. Jamar now up in the top 3, followed by Djokovic. Iwatts has recovered quite well from that little moment, coming onto the back straight. Wigan in P6, followed by Matty in P7, Squidge in P8, Beat in P9, followed by Darren Style, who's held on to the top 10 at least. Now, Squidge, Matty and Wigan, this is going to get interesting. Matty in P6, Wigan in P7, Squidge now taking that P7 away, and it is a long run down still towards the braking zone, and they're coming up relatively quick on iWatts as well. Is Squidge going to try something round the outside of the braking zone into the final proper braking zone of the corner? Yes, he is, and that is a brilliant move from Squidge 2017 to take Matty for P6. Squidge 2017, they're up 2 positions in 1 straight. Absolutely brilliant racing from the pair of them. Now a BT trying to get past both Wigan and Matty as well. Round the outside of turn 1. It is going to be hard, but it's going to turn into the inside as the 2 make contact. Oh, BT just losing the rear coming out of turn 2, making contact with the inside of Matty's car into turn 3, and that has sent mostly BT into trouble. Matty, I'm sure, will have felt that contact, might have been somewhat affected by it. Padarang not really being able to capitalize of it, but he has lost a bit of ground to Squidge, who's now coming up to the back of iWatts, and this is just non-stop action in the midfield, and this is the first time in a long time we're actually focusing this much on the midfield. Usually we have a big battle up front between Ondrej, Gnassi and Djokovic. Not really the case this time out. At the moment it's Squidge versus iWatts for the final position within the top 5. Squidge on iWatts then, as we're coming up to the Las Vegas Strip for the 3rd time this race, which means DRS is enabled. Darren Styles retired from this session, and that is the first full call safety car of this race. As my goodness, Squidge 2017 so close to iWatts, won't have enjoyed the timing of that safety car. I'm sure Gnassi isn't going to mind that, however, just going to have another go at just closing the gap on Ondrej a little bit. We'll see how long those softs last for. Surely Ondrej is not going to come into the pits this early. No, he doesn't. No, he does not. So Gnassi effectively just gaining a couple of seconds from that happening. The safety car came out early enough for no one to be able to pit, apart from iWatts actually, who's coming in to get rid of those soft tires. Curious move. Does he have front wing damage? Yes, he does. That is why. Coming out of pit lane there in P11 at the moment, ahead of a beat. He's also coming in for a front wing change after the contact that he had with Matty MC. Little drips coming into the pits as well. JV8 on the other side of the track at the moment in a race of his own. No reason for him really not to come into the pit lane. Maybe try something different on strategy. Who knows? Going aggressive on the softs for a bit. Maybe expecting another safety car. I think it is likely from the first couple of laps that we've had that we are going to have a race not clustered with safety cars, but with one here and there. So I'm sure Jamar, who's actually losing a bit of time to Gnassi as well, won't have minded that safety car one bit, because he's going to give him another go at the McLaren ahead of him. However, it's brought Djokovic into the equation as well, along with Squidge. Worth pointing out as well, Spenklos actually had a really good start. Now to the top 8, 7 positions from the start of the Grand Prix. Just been able to keep it incident-free really towards those first couple of laps, and it has paid off. Darren Style, the one retiree in this race so far, unfortunately crashing out at the end of lap 3. As this is seemingly a man who's been involved in a lot of things early on in this race as well. Matty MC was involved with a freeway battle for I believe it was P6 at the moment, with himself, Wigan and Squidge. Squidge coming out victorious, involved in contact with a BT to no fault of his own, very much probably a racing incident. If not leaning towards the side of ABT just a little bit, not being able to properly control this car, but I don't think it'll ensue in a penalty. Be investigated after the race, I'm sure. Anyways, iWatts is now coming into the pit lane again, maybe just having served this mandatory pit stop. But Matty has had a very busy start to the race indeed. Let's see if he can just have a bit of a calmer second phase. Already a 5th into this Grand Prix now, lap 5 out of 25. Laps are going by relatively quickly here. Let's just check as well. Fastest lap point at the moment belongs to Ondercheck. No one's even gotten close to that as of yet. 35.2. Closest to that is 36 flat set by Nasi. No one else is anywhere close. So then a couple of people switching on to the hard tyres, mainly the ones who have pitted already. It is Wigan, BT, iWatts, Drips, JV8 having made 2 pit stops already, but he is on a set of scrubbed medium tyres. So a bit curious that he's going to have to pit again, surely, on that medium. Bit curious, bit curious. But then we'll wait and see what goes on. Still a lot of racing to do here in Vegas. Safety car should be in at the end of this lap, hopefully. Maybe just staying out for one more, going racing at the end of lap 6. Hopefully. I think it depends on how quickly JV8 can catch up to the back of this little train. Hopefully we go racing in a couple of moments' time, unless we'll have to wait for another full lap. So I believe we're going to be racing at the end of lap 6, it looks like. Don't think safety car is going to be coming in this late, surely. It'd be... Oh, it is. That is a rude safety car restart on Undercheck's behalf, who is now left a bit for dead. Not really going to be able to back the field up too much and go at his pleasing. That is a very late call in from the safety car there. Ah, bit dodgy that. Undercheck from Nasi. There we go. Get the race restarted. And what he's tried to do there is try to get Jamar very interested in Nasi. It's not really worked, as Nasi actually gets closer to the back of Undercheck than Jamar gets to the back of Nasi. Well, hold on. As we're still under safety car conditions. Everyone back off, stop racing. Safety car conditions still apply for the time being, it appears like. We got the safety car coming in message. I don't think anyone did. The safety car lights are still on. Could any drivers please tell me if they got the message the safety car is coming in? Because safety car is still out on track at the moment. As the safety car now, Undercheck is letting that safety car go. We'll see what happens at the end of this lap. It's a bit of a curious situation, this, really. Let's see if the safety car disappears into the pit lane now. Undercheck will have another go to say some sort of safety car restart here, maybe. Sadly, this means as well that we've lost sight of the safety car. That's at the moment. What is going on right now? Okay, so here we go. Undercheck goes once again. And there we go. The race has been restarted, and I deem that a fair restart as well. Hybrid's coming into the pit lane for whichever reason. I don't quite know. But the race is restarted on lap 7 out of 25. Safety car is into the pit lane, nice and safely. Nasi now is following Undercheck by 7 tenths of a second, followed by Jamar. 6 tenths of a second. Djokovic is in P4, followed by Squinch P5, Matty P6, followed by Padarang, Spenclose, No Larks, and Wigan all the way down into P10. BT just outside of our top 10 in 11, followed by Drips, who ended up facing the wrong way, I believe. Oh, that is a bit of a moment between BT and Wigan coming into the second sector as well. And now he's going to go down the inside of No Larks, makes that work beautifully. BT now up to P9. That's a good little sequence that from a BT, makes it up into the top 9. As here we go, Djokovic has been able to get past the Alpine of SFLY Jamar as well. Now, that other Alpine not really in a decent position at the moment. P12 for Iwat. Obviously having made his pit stop already, quite a lot of people haven't. Now, Djokovic 2.1 seconds behind these two front guys, Ondrzejczyk and Nasi. I think we're getting to a point soon where those mediums are going to start outperforming these softs. I think we might have even gone to that point yet. May the softs have that bad a lifespan. That'd be good information to for Nasi to have. They're not going to last more than 7 or 8 laps. A couple of people went to the flag 9 laps on those soft tires for the sprint race. Good information to have that. As Padarang has now retired from this session, and that is going to bring everything closer together once again. Now, instructions for the safety car. Now, if you're coming up to the end of the lap a ways behind, I want you to stay a ways behind coming across the line. I want you to stay well behind the pack, and then after turn 1 and 2, then you can start catching back up. I don't want anyone near the back of the pack as we're approaching the last couple of hundreds of meters before the start-finish straight, to avoid a similar situation as to what happened. Padarang saying he did a Charles Leclerc. I don't get that reference, quite unfortunately, but I believe what he's meaning is saying he's shafted it on his own, unfortunately for Padarang, which is going to see him out of contention here. P15 and fails to qualify at the end here. Ondrzejczyk, is he going to come into the pit lane at the end of this lap? Then yes, he is. Nasi on the alternate strategy, not going to do the same. Now, let's see who stays out, who comes in. This is actually really good for everyone who pitted previously for the hard tyres. But a lot of people still staying out. A lot of people still coming in. Where's Ondrzejczyk come out, though, is the most important part. Going to come out in P6. Behind Drips, Iwat, Wigan, BT, and Nasi. He's coming out on a set of mediums, which should last him until the end of the race. Now, the question is, Nasi, what's he going to be able to do about this as well? And should he realistically have followed him in? Now, please keep in mind what I said as well. I don't want anyone catching the back of the field after those last proper corners. After the braking zone, following the Vegas straight, I want everyone back up to the back of the pack by that point this lap, preferably. So everyone who is currently catching up to the safety car, push hard. Be very careful though coming up to the back of it, but everyone should be able to make it on this lap, by the look of things. So Nasi, I want you to start preparing as well for a late safety car call-in. We could have one once again. JV8 Hybrid, please close up to the back of the pack as quickly as possible. Sadly, the safety car is actually moving at quite a decent pace. as JV8 and Hybrid has rejoined the back of the pack then. So let's see, the safety car is staying out for one more lap. Everything's gonna be able to get settled here, and hopefully we don't have another debacle with safety car coming in. That is a bit of a curious one. Also, Hybrid, I heard what you said in chat as well. Please clip everything if possible and send it in for post-race review, and we'll see what can be done. If anything can be done. But we'll definitely have a look at it, see the entire situation of what happened. One of the weirdest situations we've been in all season. But the new game is only 8 days away at this point. So then it suddenly feels like the safety car is going at an incredibly slow pace. This is actually quite good for Nasi as well, as he's got a BT blocking him, or blocking for him at the back of this, or at the front of this safety car train. So Nasi is going to be able to get away relatively scot-free. Now the question is, how much is ABT going to be able to hold up everyone behind him? Because that is going to be his job for this race now. Give Nasi as much time as he possibly can. And the question is, if we have another safety car, is Ondercheck staying out on that medium? Depends on how late it comes in, because you might want to be switching on a softs in about 5 or 6 laps time if we have another safety car late here. Nasi surely will want to go maybe as long as possible on these tyres now, just hoping for that safety car, as the safety car is coming in this lap. So here we go, then once the safety car comes into the pit lane, Nasi will be free to get this race restarted at a moment of his choosing. BT already not really too close to not too close to him, and now gets this race restarted. Nasi already with a 1.6 second advantage. Wigan might punish BT for that into turn 1. BT cheekily not even trying on that safety car restart. Oh, stuff is already going on, and I believe Little Drips has fallen to the back of the field, getting a 5-second time penalty for a severe collision with Jamar Jr. there. Heading into turn 1, Djokovic, something's gone on for him as well towards the back, and we have another safety car here. Djokovic down, now into last. What has gone on there? Something relatively big by the look of things. I'm going to be on the safety car for yet another stint then, and now is Nasi almost forced to come in at this stage, because we're running out of laps. We're also running out of safety cars. This is the third one. We can have 5 if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so then, running down this Vegas strip, Nasi's gonna have a bit of time to think about what he's doing. Is he coming in? Is he staying out? BT at the moment actually in the de facto lead of this Grand Prix, having been the only one who's pitted so far. What is his teammate going to do? Ondercheck up to P5 on that restart, still a bit behind, but getting ever closer, and he's going to get even closer on this next restart on a set of mediums as well that now are going to be relatively fresh towards the entire Grand Prix. Nasi staying out. As Jamar's coming into the pit lane at the end of lap 11, 5-second time penalty and the safety car for speeding in the pit lane. First foul by Jamar. That's Not the best penalty to get. Needs a new front wing after something's gone on. Not turning out to be such a good race for Alpine. Actually, it's turning into be quite a good race for iWatts, who might have gone to the strategy bang on unless we have another safety car here. Might actually work out very well for him. Both the Williams actually having a decent recovery as well from basically last and second last on the grid tonight. So Vanassi, Beatty and Wiggins, your top three. Undercheck's coming up behind them. It's a tricky one realistically here. I don't know what I'd do if I was Nassi. Wants to protect that track position obviously. And now it's a bit screw. Undercheck's de facto gain an entire pit stop on him here. By taking that strategy, which I think a safety car was always inevitable around Vegas, and it was always going to come quite early in the chaos. Was Nassi maybe a bit clumsy to actually try to go proper long in the first stint? Because there was always going to be some advantage actually pitting quite early. We'll wait and see how it all unfolds. Still half the race to go. Keep in mind, only half of the Grand Prix done. There's still a long ways to go here. Majority of the race, basically, though, has been taking place under safety car conditions. Safety car staying out for one more lap, then as everyone's starting to catch up to the back of the pack. Djokovic now on a set of hard tires, so is FLY Jmar and JV8 hybrid. I would imagine little drifts. No, actually on the medium tires. If those are fresh, they will make the end of the Grand Prix. Let's just have a little look. Yes, they are. We'll make the end of the Grand Prix. So that's a good strategy, that from little drips. As for Nassi, once he makes his pit stop now, is going to be able to go onto the softs, which is going to be an advantage for him. The question is, how big of an advantage is that going to be in the end? Sanasi, BT, Wigan, iWatts and Undercheck's your top 5. Squidge and Spenclose P6 and P7, good recovery for Williams, followed by a double points finish at the moment for Alpha, Tauri P8 and P9 and Hybrid and P10. iWatts at the moment having a really good race. See what Jamar's going to be able to do from P12 on the field as well. So I think we can expect that safety car in message once again quite soon. And I believe once again Beatty's just not going to be interested in racing his teammate on the safety car restart. Which you can say what you will about, but that is the benefit of being able to play a bit of ball game with your teammate. You can gain a lot from it. Look at the Williams and AlphaTauri pairings of this season. Both helped each other out quite substantially, especially those Williams boys. Here we go then, the safety cars coming in this lap. We're going racing at the end of lap 13, beginning lap 14. Half the race now done, half the race to go. As BT needs to be careful on what he does at the restart here as well. Holding everyone back too much, as we have now gotten this race restarted. It's going to allow Undercheck to get a decent run down turn 1. He hasn't really gone that run. As here we go, race is restarted. Nassi already with 1 second advantage over the rest of the field. BT, however, has the tyre advantage on him. Now then, Undercheck onto the back of iWatts, maybe trying to move down the inside, around the outside of the right-hander. No. Oh, but makes slight contact with the back, or makes slight contact with Squidge. Or Squidge, I believe, makes contact with the back of Undercheck. Heading into the braking zone, is it going to happen again? Squidge get close, but no, not... oh, sorry, Spen close got close to Squidge, not the other way around. As Undercheck maybe down the inside of Iwatts, coming onto the Titan twist bit that is Sector 2. Not quite. As there has been an incident coming out of Sector 1 that is Hybrid, I believe, facing the wrong way. Yellow flags in that sector. Which have now been cleared. Sondercheck now needs to get past Iwas as quickly as possible. Nassi and Nabiti not really disappearing. This is the limited pace of Nassi's medium tires as well, not doing him any favours. Undercheck here might be getting past Wigan into the braking zone. No, has to play this one cautiously, but Undercheck holds all the advantages here unless he makes contact with Wigan here. Just backs out of it. Wigan just leaving enough room for Undercheck to squeeze by. Undercheck retakes that position now. P4. Now a B2 running blocker here for Nassi. Could have overtaken him into turn 1. Doesn't really want to, but Nassi, oh, his tyres is not really holding up. He needs another safety car, and he needs one now, does Nassi. Not in order to fall to the very back. A BT might realistically just have to go here. Because he very much, BT, very much has a shot at this victory if he can hold on to this. Nassi now might have to face the fact that he got this one wrong. However harsh that is, might have to stick it out. And this, at the moment, could genuinely be a non-points finish for Nassi, which would see the title. I don't think it would see it confirmed. Could it see it confirmed? Djokovic is well back, but Ondrzejczyk would have to win this Grand Prix, surely. We will have to do the maths after this race is done, but Ondrzejczyk gets by Iwatts and is now gonna come up to Nassi quickly, which is only gonna solidify that he is one full pit stop ahead. Nassi has gotten this strategy all wrong. Now, maybe, should Nassi run a bit of blocking for his teammate's sake? When does he want to go into the pit lane? BT, the only driver outside the top 3 in the championship to have won a Grand Prix this season. Is that trend going to continue, and is it going to expand? Is BT going to claim his second of the season here? Is Nassi going to just hold back Ondrzejczyk a little bit, because he is going to have to pit? Nassi not having made a pit stop yet this Grand Prix, and his tyres are going to go out. Ondrzejczyk will want to get by as quick as possible, because this could now be a race for the championship. I've not done the maths in my head. I didn't think it'd be possible. Mathematically, it just might be. And I'm saying it just might be. I can't confirm that it is as of yet. We'll have to do the maths after the race, if nothing else. He needs a 52 points advantage. Doesn't matter then, because he'll have more race wins than anyone else this season. Needs a 52 points advantage at the end of this race. As Ondrzejczyk now is going to get an almighty toe down this back straight. Not going to need that toe to get past Nassi with the ADAS on DRS. BT now left a bit exposed here as well. Nassi going to try to fight that one for as long as he can. Maybe hold up Ondrzejczyk into the braking zone. But here comes Ondrzejczyk, and is he going to catch a BT into the braking zone as well? No. Nassi is there, but I'm afraid he's been taken by the Mercedes, who now has been given away to get to a BT as well. Nassi surely has to come into the pit soon. Surely those tyres are soon going to be screaming out for help. With 8 laps to go. Iwatts has fallen down a couple of positions. P7 at the moment. Djokovic in Iwatts in P6, sorry. Djokovic in P7. As here we go, Ondrzejczyk round the outside of a BT into the sweeping right-hander. BT going to defend the inside, and he's going to be able to make that work now. Is BT going to be able to hold Ondrzejczyk up so much that Nassi gets involved in this once again? He's sure going to try. But those tires are screaming out for help right now for Nasty 31. Once he comes out of the pits, he'll be well outside the points and a long way behind them as well. This has not worked out for Nasty, and I believe with this result, unless anything drastic happens, he'll realistically be out of championship contention, and we might just be able to say congratulations to Ondrejek on a brilliant campaign. Here we go, Ondrejek on BT down the Vegas Strip on lap 17 out of 25 to solidify that P1. BT is going to try to do something about this towards the end of the Grand Prix. We'll see if he can. Nasi maybe should have just tried to back up Ondrejek a bit more, try to get beat into the 1 second disadvantage. Instead, didn't really go his way. Nasi surely gotta come into the pit lane soon, assuming that the safety car not gonna come in. Here we go. Couple of laps then to try to salvage what he can from this Grand Prix. It has not worked out for Nasi, and the driver realistically has been looking quickest throughout this session. I believe he looked quicker for the sprint race as well. Just not been able to get the strategy right, and now he is well and truly a long way from the points, and it is going to be... Oh, it's just then a safety car comes out as well, and poor Nasi, because he's already lost all of that time as the safety car is coming out, but is going to bring him closer to it. Now the question is, does everyone else have to make a pit stop? Does everyone else have to cover Nasi's soft tyres with a couple of laps to go? Then this could be game on once more. The question is, does Ondrejek... he can risk it. He can risk it. BT, Matty, Squidge, hold all the powers, really. Everyone behind Ondrejek does. He's not going to be able to hold on if everyone else switches onto the soft and he doesn't. Everyone just having to back off slightly to meet that delta as well. As here we go, then Ondrejek is coming into the pit lane, so is BT, so's Matty, so's Squidge, Djokovic, Iwat, everyone is coming into the pit lane. Now the question is, Nasi, is he too far back? He'll want to go as quick as he can, but he's too far back. Nasi 31, and he just waited one more lap. It could have worked out beautifully for him, but how many positions is he going to be able to regain? Is he going to be able to get past into the top two? BT holds back on the exit, and Nasi is back up into the top two, and Ondrejek is gonna... No, he has to let BT by again. But that's actually worked out beautifully for Nasi, still only losing one position there. And now, Ondrejek still not in an advantageous position because he has the teammate pairing of BT and Nasi right on his back. This is not a fun situation to be in, let me tell you. We're going to have a couple of laps worth of racing action to settle this one. That safety car has actually come at a... I thought it was a disaster, an even worse disaster almost for Nasi. It's actually come at a time which could see Nasi win this Grand Prix. If he and ABT play this one right, Ondrejek might struggle to hold on. They need to get past them at the same time. They need to get past him at the exact same time and then work together to hold him off. We're going to have 2 or 3 laps worth of racing action here at the end, with DRS as well, worth pointing out. So, say the safety car comes in at the end of next lap, probably. So we're going to have laps 21, 24, 25... laps 21, 22, 23, 24 and 25. 5 laps worth of racing action to decide this one. Then I can't count. Please don't clip that and put it anywhere. That would be incredibly embarrassing. 5 laps was racing action towards the end of this race to settle who wins the Vegas Grand Prix. Djokovic inside the top 5 now as well to cover off the opportunity of Ondřejček winning the championship for at least one more race if things stand the way they are. But Ondřejček is going to have a beautiful position to do so heading into Saudi Arabia next week. A track not really unlike this Vegas circuit, really. A lot more tight and twisty, but similar in racing nature. So it's going to be a tricky one there as well. Vegas or Saudi Arabia always produces a good one in NEF1. I doubt this is going to be an exception, but it's a bit of a different Vegas Grand Prix track, this game, isn't it, than what we've had before with the flat curbs. Bit more technical, a bit harder to get spot on. So when the field is bunched back up. So then the safety car should be coming in just a couple of moments time. Everyone is on a brand new set, I believe, of soft tires, apart from Iwat, who is looking to a very good placement here, but that medium tire might just ruin it for him. Everyone else is on a soft tire, which means Iwat's very much in the danger zone here. Safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. Surely. Safety car is coming in at the end of this lap then. As here we go, BT right on the back of Ondřejček. The safety car's just now coming into the pit lane. Ondřejček, when does he decide to go? There we go, gets the jump on BT. Will BT get straight out of Nassi's way, or will they try to fight this one for a little bit? Here we go then, lap 21 out of 25, 5 laps to go. Nassi sticking to the inside of the track there, BT just drifting a little bit wide, but sticking with Ondřejček quite well, 0.3 of a second. Now, soft tires for absolutely everyone, down to pure pace as BT brakes incredibly late into that corner and close the gap up even further. Nassi at the moment actually struggling to hold on, and might BT actually be the one here with the best shot at a win. Would be a bit of a surprise, but I wouldn't put him past him. BT incredibly quick around here, as we saw by his pole position last season out. Squidge now on the back of Nassi as well. Is this situation where BT has to think about himself and try to go for it? Down the Vegas Strip for the first time and without DRS. And we know BT likes a car that is quite slippy in a straight line. Not a high downforce setup type of guy. Ondřejček is doing everything he can to break out of that 1 second gap. He's doing everything he can. Nassi and BT probably just going to try to play this one patient. Can't allow Ondřejček to disappear down the road, though, like he is doing now. 1 second is that gap. Fastest lap at the Grand Prix as well, set by Ondřejček with 1:33.816. And Ondřejček, if this stands, is heading towards his third perfect weekend in a row. Oh, there goes BT, and that is maybe him. It's out of contention at least. Is he out of the race? No, but it's a virtual safety car here at the end, just pushing it a bit too hard. And now Ondřejček and Nassi gonna have to deal with this one by themselves. Virtual safety cars for a couple of sectors, then BT is out of contention for the Vegas Grand Prix. I think we can determined now. Lap 22 out of 25, 3 full laps to go. And it is coming out of that very, very slippy turn 3. As Nasty now will want to get as good of a restart as he possibly can without getting a drive-through penalty, obviously. Just try to close the back to Ondrzejczyk a little bit. As there we go, green flag racing action. We are back to green flags then. 3 full laps to go in the Vegas Grand Prix, and Ondrzejczyk 1.5 seconds worth of advantage. Is Nasty going to be able to close that up? He has been quicker, but how much quicker is the question. Djokovic now up into the top 3, getting past Squidge as well. Iwat is holding on his medium tyres. Jamar 1.7 behind. Is this when the team game for Alpine starts, really? And he's going to start holding up Wigan and Olarks a little bit, try to secure the points for his teammate as well. Because he is in a position where he can do that. Especially if Matty now tows Iwat along for the last couple of laps. How much is Jamar going to be able to control the pace of that field? A P6 and P7 would be a really good result for Alpine, along with their along with their previous points finish as well. But here goes Wigan, maybe down the inside of the next braking zone. No, he does not. But the DRS has now been enabled. You can't forget how big of a threat the DRS is here around this place. Gains you seconds per lap. CBT unfortunately out of contention. Could though snatch that fastest lap point away from Ondrzejczyk here at the DEF. And might not be too much Ondrzejczyk can do about it. We'll wait and see. Iwat's at the moment holding on to P6 and he's doing a beautiful job at it. Just getting a bit slippy there though. But Jamar not really catching the back of him. Here we go, Nassi has gotten to within a 1 second gap of Ondrzejczyk, and this is going to come down to the last 2 laps once again between these two. Nassi versus Ondrzejczyk. Here we go for the win of this Grand Prix. The title is coming to a wrap. It might open up again if Nassi can win this Grand Prix. He has a much better shot at bringing this to a decider in Abu Dhabi. Sorry. Here we go, 0.6 of a second, 2 laps to go. Oh, as Ondrzejczyk gets a bit slippy coming out of turn 3, and that is going to give Nassi a proper chance to stay with him at least. When does Nassi even go for the overtake? Does he wait up until the final corner? Does he wait until the Vegas Strip for the final time? Now, is Beatty going to come into the pit lane at the end of this lap? He can without being lapped as well. Oh, as he just has a little bit of a moment there. Is he going to come into the pit lane for a set of soft tires? No, he's going to stay out by the look of things. As here we go, and Nassi now well and truly on the back of Ondrzejczyk. And Ondrzejczyk might not, to be fair, be able to do too much about this one, depending on how big his slipstream is. Keep in mind as well, obviously Ondrzejczyk can just slow down a bit, but he needs to do so in a manner which is safe as well. Will be deemed erratic driving, so you can't just basically stop in the middle of the track in certain ways. Need to judge that to perfection. Here we go, Nassi on Ondrzejczyk with a lap to go actually. Nassi punches past Ondrzejczyk with 1 lap to go. What is Nassi doing? Because that might cost him in the end. We'll have to wait and see. Nassi now in the lead of the Grand Prix, followed by Ondrzejczyk. The gap is 0.3 of a second. One lap to go. You do not want to be in P1 here, as Nassi is just about to demonstrate heading into turn 1 as he lets Ondrzejczyk go. And is Nassi gonna be able to end the win streak of Ondrzejczyk this weekend? It's been a long win streak if that's the case, and I doubt honestly that it'll ever be beaten in NEF1 again. But Nassi now with the best opportunity he's ever had of doing so on the last lap. Ondrzejczyk surely will try something on this lap, something to get Nassi to get into that DRS zone ahead of him. They've got Squidge not too far behind them. He would love a bit of DRS down that back straight as well. It could propel him up into P2 if everything's the case. They've got that to consider. Undercheck can't force Squidge to get too close to Nasi. Here we go. We're heading on to the Vegas Strip for the final time this weekend. Is it going to be Undercheck or is it going to be Nasi? Nasi needs a win here to keep the championship hopes alive. DRS is enabled here. How quickly is it going to catch the back of the Mercedes? How good is the slipstream? Is the toe? He'll need to defend into the last few bends as well. But he's going to go for it. He's going to go round the outside into the final braking zone. He's going to have the position now. Is he going to be able to stay ahead for the last couple of meters? Undercheck gets close to him. Nasi needs to stay calm and collected now. He can win the Vegas Grand Prix. Undercheck is going to do everything he can to try to keep back at him. But the win streak, it ends at 9. Nasi 31, after what looks like a massive strategy blunder, wins the Vegas Grand Prix. And who saw that coming 10 laps ago? He was down and out. He came back. He did the job. Nasi 31 keeps the championship battle well and truly alive. 25 points is coming home to McLaren. It is coming home to Nasi 31. The win streak is over for Undercheck 51, and what a run it has been. More than half a season of dominance for Undercheck, but it's been close before. Nasi has almost done this before, but now he gets the job done. Djokovic comes home in P3 to keep his championship hopes alive. Squidge in P4, followed by Matty in P5. Wigan in P6, followed by Iwatts. Brilliant result for him in P7. Spenklos in P8 there. Jamar dropping a couple of positions there at the back into P9. I failed to see who got the P10, but hats off to Nasi for that final stint. Yeah, just hats off to Nasi. No one will have seen that one coming at a couple of laps ago. Absolutely a brilliant drive from him. Can't be overstated. That is a massive job. Got the job done. A little bit of games coming up there towards the end with Undercheck into turn 1 and final lap. But it is what you got to do to win a Grand Prix around here. You got to deploy those types of tactics. The championship well and truly on now with 2 races to go. And once again, it is heading at this pace towards the final decider in Abu Dhabi on the 4th of June. However, in 1 week's time, the championship can be decided still if Undercheck has a proper go at it in Saudi Arabia. Nasi 31 takes the win of the race and the win of the weekend. He ends Undercheck's win streak at, I believe, 9, a record that might never be broken in NEF1. Undercheck comes home in P2, Djokovic in P3, Squidge P4, followed by Matty in P5, Wigan in P6, followed by Iwatts in P7, Spenklos in P8, Jamar P9, and Hybrid takes a point there in P10. No Larks just outside by a couple of tenths in P11, followed by JV8 and AB there in 13th. Couple of retirees, Little Drips, Padarang and Darren Style all failed to finish. Fastest lap point as well, worth pointing out, is going to Undercheck for some damage limitation than this Grand Prix. Very good damage limitation, keeping it in P2. Whew. But then, guys, that is going to be it for this Las Vegas Grand Prix, and I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, smash the like button. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us a follow or a subscription. Mean the world to us. Hopefully we'll see you once again then next week out when we go racing around the streets of Saudi Arabia for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, round 17 of the NEF1 Championship. Until then, stay safe. Have a good one. We'll be back in a week's time when NEF1 returns.